By the end of this video, I'm either gonna be in a fantastic mood or a not so excited mood. This is my first large scale dirt work project, and we're using large scale loosely here. We're scaling it to the size of the operation. It's a large scale for the equipment that I have. We also rented some equipment. Now, there's a caveat to that. I used to do dirt work full time for Dirt Perfect, then switched to a different career, did dirt work part time for Dirt Perfect, and this spring decided I'm gonna go out on my own and try doing some dirt work part time for myself. Thanks to a generous subscriber, we now have a Thomas skid steer, which is fantastic. We bought this bucket for like 300 bucks off another subscriber. Brian was the one that gave us the Thomas. And I don't know if this fellow wants his name mentioned because he said he didn't want to be on camera. But this fellow sold us that for a good price. We were in the process of buying this off of Dirt Perfect. We're about a third of the way to the ownership. We've done quite a bit of work on it. It's a Caterpillar 304C. This is Dirt Perfect's Cat D4 that I'm renting. And his, I think it's a Dynapack, I could be wrong, but sheep's foot compactor we were renting for this job. Dirt Perfect. Dirt Perfect, but smaller. Now it is October. It is late into the dirt work season. And next week we have rain and cold weather coming. Rain's not that big of an issue. You get it from time to time. It's a thing that happens. It's a wild thing. But when we get the cold weather, it just never dries out. So we're getting close to the end of the season. I only have a few days left to get the big dirt moved and packed in. So I should probably stop talking to you guys and get to work. I just want to add that I'm not nervous about, am I gonna get the dirt work right? I've done that plenty of times and I'm confident on that. What I don't know is, am I actually gonna make any money on this, or am I gonna lose money? The bidding is new to me. I have a good idea how long it takes to do stuff, because doing the work before, and I have a good idea of how I want the dirt work to lay in here. So I'm not overly concerned about that part of it. We're off to a good start. You get this moved out of the way. I need to switch over to the grapple as well. Oh, easy. Whoa, she's drifting. Quit. Got a daggone mind of her own sometimes. Gonna need this grappling a little bit, so she's set up, she's perfect, ready to go. So we're gonna start with getting this entrance built up to where it needs to be. You can see there's a pretty good whoop-de-doo right there, and there's a whoop-de-done over there. We're gonna take some of that decent dirt, work our way across. Step one though, gotta get a good bench cut in right here. We've already got this packed, it was benched. We're gonna bench on this outer edge, get that built up, roller pack it. This is looking absolutely perfect. I mean, just right in there. Right in there. I think I've got enough material. It may take a little bit more right here, but I want to go ahead and start shoving some more down over the hill and get some out of the way so we can start working this bank, working these edges. I'm gonna start rolling this bank in. The idea is that I pushed far enough back whenever I was shoving all this that way and shoving it over this way, that there's enough room I can just roll it down. We got the crown, we got the ditch. Topsoil busted out. Not bad. And all the dirt we brought down, we've got busted out. We still have to establish this inner edge for sure. But before we do that real quick, let's bring the 304 over. We'll pull all this soil up, kind of dress this outer edge. I've got it shoved down in the trees, so I don't really have a good way to get the dozer in and get the material up. I'm gonna run the dozer around that outer edge, but I'm really itching to get this little finished out. So let's do that real quick. Or real long, I don't know, we don't know, nobody knows. We gotta get this out of the way and then start building up the exit right here. It is a new morning. This is looking so good. I haven't set the laser yet, and we got to check, but it feels like when on the machine, the goal is that we can get a ditch on that back side that slopes all that way, hits that ditch, then we culvert across. I haven't set the laser up, but just from the dozer, that's what it feels like it's doing. We'll check here in a little bit. But we did talk to the property owner, and we added this to the job. We are going to remove this. There's small stuff like picking scrub brush. It looks like it ought to go. You could just sneak in. It's not that big a deal cost-wise. But when we add a whole nother decent-sized tree, that's a little bit added on to it. So it's got quite a bit of discoloration already. And if the birds are chasing the bugs, then the bugs are in the tree. That's so basically, here in a few years, it's going to come down on its own anyway. It's going to be a heck of a lot easier to do it now when there's nothing in the way. And it gives us a chance to blend this hill in a lot nicer for him. We're just going to take this topsoil, get it pulled up the hill into a pile. And then we'll take the mini down on the bottom side and hog all the decent material out and just throw it on top of the pad. Bust it out with the dozer, pack it in. And then the plan is to just shove the tree over with the dozer once we get enough dug out from it. saw. Try to break that the rest of the way to the track over. So that's done. It was about an extra 3 hours worth of work. More expensive for the overall project. Still cheaper in the long run. I do 4 hours minimum on the Mini X. That's what it takes for me to make money on it. So if they'd have called me back in the future, I came down here, did 3 hours worth of work, they're still getting charged for 4 today. They only get charged for 3. So it's always cheaper to do when the equipment's on scene. On scene. Oh gosh. On site. Wrong job. Just gonna run this ditch real quick and make sure it looks like we've got the fall we need. I just want to make sure we have the fall we need, that the grade rod is off the ground. Little fall, not much. There's some fall. There's some fall. We're headed the right direction. So total, we got about 2 foot of fall over the whole length of that. That ought to be plenty. I do think I'm going to take a little bit more out right through here. We don't want a perfectly level pad. We want it to have just kind of crown all the way around so stuff flows off. So I'm gonna eyeball what looks like the high spot. That's 16 inches there. There's a lot of roots in that bank and there's still some sprinkled in there, but as you push, if you shake that blade, those roots will kind of float on top of that cutting edge and the finer dirt topsoil will kind of fall through it. And that's what we dug out there. We just took it and threw it there just to get out of the way, but I need to get that pile of roots and trash out of there, down to the burn pile. Because whatever we clean out of this ditch over here is gonna end up in that. See if that gets us a little bit better through there. Yep. 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 So we got a lot of these little crumbs along the edge. We're going to try to use the skid steer to clean this up. Just pull them to the center and then we'll just try to shove them down the middle. See what happens. That's okay. Oh gosh. Now we're looking at just a whole bunch of just skirting around with a dozer, polishing up a couple spots here and there, and then a tremendous amount of packing to make sure that we've got everything as tight as we need to get it with that sheep's foot roller, which is getting trucked out today because we're going to truck the smooth drum roller in sometime next week, hopefully, so we can start doing the stone work. But I don't need the sheep's foot anymore, and Mike's been calling about it, trying to get it back, so it's his. Probably ought to I'll get it back to him, but you get shot. Yeah, words. Sometimes they're tough. Dirt work, though, yeah, better than talking, I'll tell you that. I'm better at the dirt than I am at talking. So the idea when we initially talked about it was that you could pull in, circle around, just like we did there, pull forward, and then back the camper in here. Obviously, I'm sure their camper's quite a bit longer than this trailer. Oh, let's just say right here would be the front of it. Still leave ample room. And just see how long that is. Bouncy. Oh gosh. Hung up. Diff locker. You'd be getting into the drive right about here. We're at 50 foot right there. So there's a good 50-foot spot there to crane a camper in. They're talking about possibly building a building now at some point. So we may have to change a little bit of this site work depending on what size they go with. They weren't 100% sure. But it definitely works for the initial plan. Let's see if we can get up out of here. There's a couple things we haven't done yet, and I'll show you what those are gonna be. So one thing we haven't done yet, but we will, there'll be a culvert that goes from about right there across right here. We gotta verify that, but that's what we're looking at plan-wise. Basically that corner material, we can take the excavator and it will just go right in that hole just to kind of bank that inner radius. And that will catch the water down this ditch and down this ditch. And then we got a little bit more work to do on this corner and a little more on that corner, and then will be a culvert crossing. We may go from here across or from there across, but either way, we got to catch this half of this ditch and that runoff. So I'm gonna see if I can get on out of here with this thing. If it's your first Captain Kleeman video, welcome. We post every Monday and Tuesday. And this should be Monday's video, so Thursday. No, we don't. No, we don't. We post every Monday and Thursday. Did I say Tuesday? We post every Monday and Thursday. This should be Monday's video. We may be back on this for Thursday's video. If it rains, we'll be burning. If it doesn't rain, we may start getting some stone hauled in here. We'll just have to see what we have, what the weather does. If you've been with us for a while, I hope you're still loving this. I hope you're excited about this project. When we get done with this project, we'll have enough money from this, fingers crossed, to buy the mini split or a mini split for the YouTube yacht. So revenue from this job is going into the YouTube yacht, and then we'll be back on the YouTube yacht for the remainder of a video. Okay, all right. You thought I was gonna say for a long time, didn't you? You knew better than that. You knew better than that.